Okay, cool. Today is Monday, November 13th. You heard it here first. Snapchat is dead. Or they're dying. They'll be dead soon. It's 4:30 p.m. Central. It's pitch black outside. I'm joined here by Bunker Labs founder Todd Connor, Jesse Nunez, who is the founder of Elite Amateur Fight League. He'll give us an update on what we talked about last week. We're also joined by a very special guest today, Will McNulty. He's the founder of Team Rubicon. Can't wait for this interview. Welcome to Breakdown.
This is like music again, right?
Yeah. All right. So, as we said, today we are joined by the founder of Team Rubicon. I'll literally read their mission statement right now. Team Rubicon unites the skills and experiences of military veterans with first responders to rapidly deploy to emergency response teams. Grammar error. All right. Team Rubicon is an incredible organization. They have over 1,700 volunteers deployed for Hurricane Harvey. At this moment, I want to welcome on Will McNulty.
Will McNulty! Thanks for coming in. Hey, it's good to be here. I'm going to jump in. Will, we just realized that my parents, I grew up in the house that your grandparents lived in. Mm-hmm. Which is just like, I don't know what to do with that fact, but I just feel like I have to share that. It's just
we did a lot of weird things in that house.
So we have a clean tradition of weird things happening in that house.
It's amazing. The backyard is arrowheads. If you dig in this backyard, you can find arrowheads.
Yeah.
We still have them.
Amazing. And that willow tree.
I think it fell down.
It did fall down.
Yeah.
It still grows. It's a very distinctive tree. Man, so Will McNulty, so we're taking a trip down memory lane. Welcome to the show. Will intro Team Rubicon, but in your own words, what is Team Rubicon and why'd you start it?
Well, Will read off the mission statement. We essentially take military veterans, we pair them with first responders, and we deploy them in emergency response teams. And we have a wide range of capabilities, everything from medical triage, which we'll do primarily on the international side, to debris management, spontaneous management. But we send these veterans, and we call them kick-ass civilians. We deploy them into the immediate aftermath of a natural disaster, and it's through that service that they regain these things that you lose when you take off the military uniform: a sense of purpose, a sense of community, and a sense of identity.
Awesome. So give us a sort of scope of where's the organization today, and what's your role with the organization?
So I just recently stepped down as CEO. I'm now the founder emeritus of Team Rubicon. So Team Rubicon went through a number of evolving, some iterations. The Team Rubicon Global was launched in April 2015, so that's what I just stepped down as the CEO of Team Rubicon Global. So we were focused on building Team Rubicons in the coalition of countries that fought together in Iraq and Afghanistan. Afghanistan being the largest coalition in the history of warfare, over 50 countries. They're veterans who serve in these all-volunteer forces who raise their hand to serve. They also have service in their blood, and they're looking for opportunities to continue to serve when they take off the uniform.
It's amazing. So you scaled the model globally and have had amazing success with it. I just think it's such a great organization. Why step down now, and tell us kind of what got to that point?
So I've been doing this for 8 years now. We've launched in 5 countries. There are 5 Team Rubicon charity organizations right now in Australia, in Canada, in Norway, in UK, and of course it started right here in the US. I felt this was a great time for me to pass the baton to the next leader, and I'm writing a book. And so I'm writing a book about the last 8 years, how we built this, the people who built this organization. I think that too often the credit has gone to the founders and not enough credit has gone to actually the people who did the work, who built this organization, and I want to make this book about them.
I think that's great. Awesome. I think most people at the Bunker Labs team would agree with that sentiment, that too much credit goes to the founder. Yeah. I would agree. Yeah. In most cases, that's always true. Well, cool. When's the book going to come out?
We're aiming late next year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Will you come on here and have us, can we have a conversation on air about it?
If I don't mess this up and you invite me back, I will.
You're not messing it up. You can't mess it up.
I just want to take 1 second too. If anybody out there that's watching has any questions for Will, please comment, and we will get those answered for you immediately. And also, if you have questions for next week's guest, who is Dan Alaric, we'll talk about that later, but Dan Alaric, he's the founder of Grunt Style. Queue those questions up for us on our Facebook page before that happens. So we'll keep rolling these questions, but if you have anything that comes up, let us know.
So the book, so we're expecting to see that in sometime here. I'm excited to read it. I'm sure you have so many stories to tell. I'm interested in you as the entrepreneur. I mean, our audience is entrepreneur. Jesse's an entrepreneur, right? So this is what we're here talking about. What's your advice? What are some of the things that you've learned, some pithy advice, things that you, looking back now, would say, here's some things that entrepreneurs should be aware of?
I think the best piece of advice that has been given to me over the last 8 years came from my friend Cameron Sinclair, who is the founder for Architecture for Humanity. He won the TED Prize. We were competing against each other in the Chase American Giving Awards in 2011 for $1 million prize. And he pulled me aside and he said, I want to give you a piece of unsolicited advice. He said, what you have is lightning in a bottle. I know lightning in a bottle because I had lightning in a bottle at architecture. Lightning in a bottle attracts two types of people. It attracts the quiet professionals. These are the people who put their heads down, who are mission focused, and they are dedicated to a cause larger than self. And these are the people you need to find and bring into your organization because they will make you succeed. He said, lightning in a bottle also attracts the light seekers. These are the people who see all the media attention you're getting, and they're attracted to that like moths to a light. Those people are toxic to your organization. You won't always be able to identify them at first, but as soon as you do, you need to get them out of your organization as fast as possible because they will tear it apart. That has been, I think, the single greatest piece of advice that I received over the last 8 years.
Yeah. Wow. So that's really interesting. So how do you deal with the light seekers? I mean, has that been a big part of the job? It's hard too because you run a volunteer organization, right? So I mean, talk about even like volunteers, right? So like, how do you manage the people in a globally distributed, complex organization that are there because they want to help, but not all help is necessarily helpful? So how do you deal with that?
Well, I mean, you obviously have to delegate, and we have Team Rubicon now has over 66,000 registered members, 5 countries, and you have to find those quiet professionals in each of those countries to manage that. I mean, one of the most fantastic people I've ever met is Jeff Evans. He's the CEO of Team Rubicon Australia. This is a gentleman who was medically retired as an Australian commando after he was hit by an IED in Afghanistan. And he's just a lead by example. He doesn't ask his team to do anything that he's not willing to do himself. And he doesn't do it for the media attention that comes along with the Team Rubicon operation.
Interesting. What's the last mission you've been on? Tell us about it.
The last mission I was on was sorry, we're passing notes each other.
Let's just ask this question. So, all right. So you write this book. What is your plan after you write your book?
So
it's so easier to be just completely transparent.
Yeah.
You want to joke? You ask the question.
Like trying to run this like Fox News or something or CNN, let's just be friends.
So what are my plans after I finish the book? So I'm talking to some friends about different business ideas. You know, I obviously I've built a name for myself in the disaster response space, and I have some ideas that I think may succeed in that space. But I'm a social entrepreneur at heart, and I want to solve problems that can help people affected by, in my case, natural disasters. And so I'm looking at that to do something, continue to do something in that space.
Yeah, I read an article around kind of data protection. I think is an interesting thing. People volunteering, how do you capture information like that?
Right.
Make sure it's legitimate. I thought it was fascinating. I just want to throw that out there. I read it last Friday.
It's something that we did. The data protection is something we deal with. I mean, we're dealing with it now in Europe, in the United States, in Australia, and each country has a different data protection laws. And so it's really interesting that what works in the United States doesn't work in the UK.
Why is that?
Well, the UK is no longer part of Europe.
Yeah, I guess it's part of it. Yeah.
But why is that? Different PPI laws. So there are certain things you can share here in the United States that you can't share or collect in the UK.
Interesting. All right, well, let's switch gears. We want to keep you in the conversation, but we want to talk about some other things here. Probably actually, before we go to that, so if somebody wants to get involved in Team Rubicon, two questions. One is, how do you get involved in Team Rubicon if somebody wants to get involved? And then the other is, talk to me about the role of founder emeritus. It sounds like amazing. What's your latitude with that? What are you doing?
My latitude, it's a lofty title that means absolutely nothing.
I love it. Yeah.
I studied Latin, so I like it. I still have a role at fundraise, and I serve on the Team Rubicon boards. They're now 5, going on 6, now 7 boards here soon. So each country unit is a a charity registered in its respective country with its own CEO, its own board. So there's the governance and fundraising piece that I still am very involved in.
Cool. And if somebody wants to get involved, what do they do?
So they're likely here in the United States. That means go to teamrubiconusa.org.
Cool. Thanks, Will.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So cool. So this organization is primarily based around community, about people helping one another, starting a movement, and I think it's like truly fantastic to be able to get people to volunteer their time. I mean, thousands and thousands. You said 60, how many thousand? 60,000 plus?
Registered volunteers are over 66,000 right now.
It's amazing.
TRUSA deployed 2,000 of those to Hurricane Harvey in Texas.
Awesome.
Incredible. So around this community aspect, around organizations like this, we've had conversations with Team RWB as well around this idea of genuine people helping people, and how that can be very valuable in your life and how it can be rewarding. And we've been kind of exploring what that looks like in a relationship we just announced last week with WeWork. WeWork is essentially their community organization, 170,000 members in their organization, and the idea is just to create community in your workplace. So get out of your apartment or your home and go and work. So I wanted to take a second and just talk about. I don't really have a real question, I guess. I think that this is just a common trend that's coming up right now, and anything that you could speak to around starting a movement like this, like around community and around community building, and how do you get people inspired and passionate to want to put down their cell phones and go do something that's bigger than themselves?
So rebuilding community is an important part of what Team Rubicon does. And when you think back to our experience in the military, right, we were thrown together into a platoon from all walks of life, from different socioeconomic backgrounds. My Marine Corps platoon had a Marine from Louisiana Bayou, a Marine from the Pacific Northwest Lumberjack Camp, a Marine from the Bronx. I was from Chicago, and you come together from these different backgrounds, and you're forced to come together and solve a common problem. And it's that diversity that is what's special about solving that problem. And I think that with Team Rubicon, when you get out of the military, you go back to these small communities across the United States. You lose that physical connection to each other, so you lose that community. You lose that peer-to-peer support system. And so what we're trying to do is recreate that by building, I guess, what you can call a 21st century volunteer fire department without the brick and mortar fire department. Mm-hmm. See, these men and women now go back to their hometowns. We can recruit them into the Team Rubicon network. We can train them, and when disaster happens in or near their communities, we can pull them together. And that's recreating those bonds, that peer-to-peer support system that they had in the service, but now they're finding that they have other men and women around them who have similar experiences.
It's amazing. Any thoughts on that yourself?
No, I think we did want to say that community building is a big part of, I think, what all of us are doing these days, and it's interesting to think about how, I think historically it's been with the nonprofit domain that we hold that explicit, that we're building community, but being with WeWork last week and them announcing this national partnership that we're doing in 10 cities, to listen to Adam Newman, who's the founder of WeWork, who's also a Israeli Navy veteran, he'll say it's all about community, and that's what they're doing, is they're building a global community, kind of in the context of work, and it's co-working, but it's really sort of about this notion of community. And I think that with that lens, there's a lot that I think we can all learn from an organization like Team Rubicon and how you guys have grown and accomplished that.
Team RWB has done a fantastic job at that, and I remember wanting to build out that partnership with Team RWB and TR because our missions, they didn't overlap. Mm-hmm. They build community through physical fitness and social events, primarily through the physical fitness. Mm-hmm. And I became an early member of Team RWB, and I saw them as a way, as almost a readiness, right? They'll get you're in the Marines. Right. That's the first thing you stop doing when you leave. You stop PTing. That's why a lot of Marines do it. They just stop working out. And RWB is giving them that foundation of a good physical fitness regimen, which makes them more ready to respond to a disaster.
That's great. Speaking of physical fitness, Jesse, you had an event this weekend. Remind everybody what your business is and what you did this weekend.
Awesome. So we had an amazing event this weekend. The Elite Amateur Fight League had their national championship on Veterans Day on the Marine Corps birthday.
Nice.
So we were in a great military town in San Diego, had a bunch of Marines that were honored during the event, which I thought was awesome. And MMA and Marines kind of go hand in hand. There were a lot of MMA veterans that are Marines and MMA fighters that happen to be Marines that were honored that night as well. But the thing that I want to talk most about is we had Jackson Wink, which is considered the best school in all of mixed martial arts, versus Team Alpha Male, and they hands down delivered an amazing event. I don't want to tell you the outcome because I want you to watch it on TV. NBC Sports Regional Networks will air all of this first quarter of 2018, but it was an unbelievable event. It rivaled the talent you would see at the UFC.
Amazing.
So cool. Well, you said a couple of them are teetering, right? Like they're
Definitely.
right
So,
now,
we had 8 fights, 16 fighters. Out of those 16 fighters, I would bet that you would see at least 10 of them in the UFC over the next 2 to 3 years.
Amazing. Well done. Speaking of entrepreneurs, somebody was on Shark Tank this past week, so Grip Mats, you want to tell us what happened with that?
Yeah, absolutely. So Columbus company, GripMat, they went on Shark Tank over the weekend, Veterans Day special, and they ended up actually doing a deal with not only Mark Cuban, but also with Lori, I'm going to say this wrong, Grenier.
Yeah.
Lori Grenier. And also Richard Branson popped in for this episode, so they did a deal.
It's a Bunker Labs company out of Columbus.
It's remarkable.
Tell me what the company does.
Yeah, so Air Force mechanic, and he, his name's, I have it written down, I feel like I should know this, Tom Burden. Tom Burden is a F-16 mechanic, and it's simply he was tired of his tools falling off his plane. So he had a small problem, his tools were falling off his plane. He went out and he built a product that's like a rubber flexible orange, it's bright orange, you can't miss it, mat that you can, devise your tools up and you can put it on the nose cone of a plane or on a wing or on a car or on, any rounded surface, and it stays put. I think it's just a clear case of doing everything kind of the right way. He recognized the problem, went out and solved it for himself, and then found out he could solve it for others. And then he went out and did a Kickstarter, set a goal for 10 grand, ended up raising 100, and then here he is doing deals with Sir Richard Branson.
Did you see the show?
I did see the show.
What was your take? I haven't seen it yet, so that's
I thought that the Sharks were going to come out, a couple of them were going to come after him because he answered this one question about, would you do a multi-shark deal? And he said, well, it all depends on which shark or what shark.
Who said that to you?
He said this to the Sharks.
Okay.
So now you've got these 5 Sharks thinking. I'm just thinking this guy, he's about to be called a cockroach, you think?
He's going to be dead.
Mr. Wonderful wasn't there, so that didn't happen.
Right.
But he got a deal.
You got a deal, and I think this idea of being really selective with who your investors are is actually right.
Yeah.
I think it's I love that he would shift the paradigm like that. It's
Yeah.
well, it depends, right? Because that's actually the right answer. It's it depends.
Yeah.
Whether or not you want the help. We had an event in San Francisco at the Muster a few weeks ago. 3 entrepreneurs that have all been on Shark Tank come and talk about their experiences, and very different experiences and opinions about whether or not that's a good thing. But I think it's a good thing for him. He's done the deal, and Grip Mats is on its way to big success.
So cool.
So that's a Bunker Labs company.
Yeah, out of Columbus. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. He pitched last year, and it was sort of like a simple idea. And I look at it, I'm like, I don't know. I know what the market is for aircraft mechanics. They need a place to store tools, but it's obviously bigger than I would know.
Yeah.
So it's good.
It's great. All right. Moves into our last thing, hacks. So hacks are things you can use in your day-to-day life right now, whether it be free services or whatever. So let's go around the table and just talk about a quick hack that can come and impact a veteran entrepreneur today. Who wants to start?
I'll go first, I guess.
Jesse.
It's something I learned at the last Bunker Launch Lab class, which was have a great answer for when somebody asks you how business is going. And we get that question all the time as entrepreneurs, hey, how's business going? And our go-to is it's busy, it's great, things are going well, but they'll also have a message hidden in there about something you might need or a service you might be offering. And so I've used that all weekend this weekend, and it worked fantastically. I would usually answer, hey, business is great, check out the event, everything's going great, but I also offered, we've got picked up by NBC Sports this year for the second year in a row. Our reach has grown 14.7 million households, but now we're looking for a little bit more support on the sponsorship end. And I've gotten a lot of return just from that answer that I wouldn't normally have thrown in, not learning that the week before.
It's great.
Shout out Joe Mikulev for that.
Joe Mikulev, great advice.
Heard that before. Anybody else? I'm happy to go.
I'll go real quick though. So Ray Dalio in his book Principles, he says he's first and foremost, he thinks he's a real dumb shit. There's no doubt about himself.
It's a PG program.
I put that. I'm kind of a knuckle dragging, Marine, and I think the key to success for me has been to find those quiet professionals who are smarter than me. What are my weaknesses, identifying my weaknesses, and then finding those people who are those quiet professionals and bringing them into the organization. And that's how this organization has grown and flourished.
That's awesome. My hack is going to be to ask people, advisors for your business, what they see as the value for your business. So it sounds counterintuitive, but like, for example, a company like Grip Mats, right? Like, we might just see it as like it's about selling, a rubber mat for an Air Force mechanic to hold tools. But the reality is a distributor, somebody that might be interested in acquiring that business, might see it as like an entree into a bigger marketplace, right? So for example, WeWork has a valuation that's significantly bigger than Regis or other co-working spaces because it's a membership community, right? And so I think, like your business, for example, right? Like the obvious answer on what's the value of your business is sort of like how much revenue do you make, and it's a cash flow analysis, and you get a valuation from that. But I think there's hidden value in a lot of the businesses that we're supporting, and the entrepreneurs aren't aware of what that value is. So get with a smart investor or somebody that sees your business for something bigger than you might even see it, and have them explain what the value of that could be.
Great advice. I will take you up on that.
Yeah, I think you've got a lot more value than you probably realize. Yeah.
That's great. My hack is actually tangible. No offense, guys, but it's usually you can take away. It's a free service, sort of free. You pay for it if you do more of it, but it's called Shake. It's a place where you can create, sign, and send legally binding agreements. So if you're like a freelancer and you need a quick operating agreement to do some freelance work, you can create these documents, pretty much turnkey legal solutions. And you can create, send, and have them signed. You can do it all on their platform. So Shake, I think it's like shake.co or something. But Shake legal agreements, I've used them once, but I know some other freelancers around the community that use this stuff. So it could be good for you to earn some supplementary income. So, anyways, that's his breakdown. Will, cannot thank you enough for coming on. It was really great. Jesse as well. Todd.
Thank you.
Next week we have Dan Alaric. He's the founder and CEO of Grunt Style, and he'll be coming on to talk to us about how he turned, I think it's $2,800. $1,200. Sorry, $1,200. $1,200 into a $160 million lifestyle brand. Thank you so much. Have a great week.
Boom. Thanks, Will.
It's awesome. Thank you so much.
$160 million.